Hello and welcome to the next video in our series. I am Worm, this is Mr. Proton. Today we're going to be reviewing the Kanger, is it T3?
Kanger T3, yeah there it is, Kanger T3 or MT3. The only difference is a metal tank with some view importers.
Or waste of money.
We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, this is Kanger, the dreaded Kanger T3 or MT3.
Something we hate.
I think we should maybe hold our opinions to the end of the video.
Hate it!
But right. Yeah, we're going to review it based on our experiences. It's not like, I do want to make it clear as well that we don't do these videos after just purchasing it, stick the camera on, get a video up there. We do use every piece of equipment and decide what we want to use. And we have used this for a good couple of weeks each. And yeah, our opinions and experiences is what we'll come across.
This one is actually filled up, so I'm not going to take this one apart, but this is it in black, which is a slightly see-through black. I mean, you can tell it's not completely...
It's a bit translucent, isn't it? It's not as black as the V3s.
Yeah.
The V3s or the Stardust, whatever you want to call it.
A little bit darker.
If you get the black one of those, although it's still see-through, it's not quite as black as that.
That's it in blue, which I'm going to take apart for you, which is really simple because it's literally 2 parts. That's it.
That's all it is. That's all it is.
Which is good for the fact that you can fill it up, change your atomizer, and you ain't got to worry about it, washing them out completely or dripping liquids everywhere because you literally do it upside down. Sealed.
Yeah, we can. Well, I mean, we've show how I feel with that. I mean, that is something that's good about these Kangers. I'm not just going to slag this thing off. Like I say, our overall opinion of it is, but that's the best way I can describe this. But we will show you the good points, and then we'll tell you the bad points. But that is your atomizer. That is your atomizer. That's how they all come. They all come with the ego bit at the bottom, which is, it's kind of cool that these are only £2.50 because there's a lot of metal work there, and they're the same price as the V3s and every other atty head you get. So I'd imagine they'd be more expensive, and they're not. They maintain them and keep them at £2.50, which is a thumbs up. I think that's a good thing to do. Bad points about this atty head, but one of many, is that inside here, I don't know if you can make that out. If that was a RCS V3 or a Vision Replaceable or CE5, whatever you want to call it, what you'd have is a 510 connection inside with an ego connection on the outside. No big deal. This is not a 510 and an ego. This is an ego. There is no 510 connection here. So if you've got something that's going to fit sleekly onto a 510, forget about it. You're not going to be able to use it. You're going to have to buy a 510 to ego adapter or use a battery that's ego threaded to your spinners and your twists and your pass-throughs and your standard ego batteries. That's point number one. That's a little bit weird about these heads, but I'm guessing that's why, or one of the reasons why they managed to keep it at £2.50. Given the choice, I probably would prefer it like this. If you have to buy a £3 adapter for your mod, or if you're using a standard ego, it's not going to matter to you anyway. But having to pay an extra £1 or £2 per atty head is something that may stack up over time. So yeah, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's quite good that they managed to do that.
I don't know if you can see it inside there, but when you actually take that out, you've still got a metal shaft in there, which is what keeps...
There you go.
Which goes all the way to the tip, which actually is why it doesn't leak when you fill up liquids when you turn it upside down. Yes. And this prong, I'm going to call it, is also hollow, whereas obviously where the atomizer is down the bottom there, which actually fits sleekly inside of that. It has got a piece of silica on the end, just there, which when you do it up does form a seal there. The problem is that the wicking system down the bottom, the standard ones, are a bit iffy.
I think wicking's a big issue with it anyway. I mean, we'll talk about filling it and get onto that stuff afterwards.
We've taken the top off, and when you actually took this bit of...
No, you fucking minge.
No, we're not. Why would we do anything else now?
Why we might as well show how to fill it and stuff for people that might be genuinely interested, and then slag it off.
Alright.
Right? Basically, the advantage with these is that you unscrew the atty head, you pop it out. To change atty heads, you lose no liquid. You don't get dirty fingers or anything like that. So tilt it along the side, same as a V3, so tilt it like this. Pour it down the sidewall. Obviously, don't fill it above that central tube because you're just going to basically straight out the bottom. But it holds about 2.8 to 3 ml of juice, which is a lot for something that, in size terms anyway, is not dissimilar from the V3. So I think that's good as well. They've managed to accommodate a lot in there, but obviously that is mainly because all of your atomizing happens down at the bottom end, and it doesn't need a long shaft as well as a head that protrudes into the tank. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good. It's a very difficult device. It's like, I don't know, it's a cruel and fickle mistress. It does. It works well.
It's like meeting your new girlfriend's or partner's parents for the first time. You dread it.
You dread it. Well, we do. You probably be really looking forward to this. I can't wait for my Kangers to come through the post, especially if you're looking for an MT3, which is one with the metal tank, because they look fucking brilliant. I mean, out of 10, the new Kangers with the metal tank, they're a 10 out of 10 in my opinion anyway, because they look the bollocks. But it's not worth it. It just isn't worth it. Trust me on
if they've still got this.
Yeah. Well, it's not. It's just they need to do so many tweaks. But yeah, trust me on this. If you're
We've
looking
tried
at
tweaking
Kangers,
ourselves.
please, for your sake, don't do it. Now I know P. Basardo got one, and he released a fantastic review on this. And I think that's part of the problem, is that people hear one good review, especially from someone as big as him in terms of YouTube and hits and followers.
Which is the reason why we bought some.
One of them. That he basically got a good one and it worked really well, and I don't doubt that he got a good one that worked really well, but it can be a bit hit and miss with these Chinese companies, and their sort of product check-in methods may not be as thorough as you'd expect from a company based in the UK. Okay, their distribution control and product control might not be as good. We personally bought 4 of these Kangers at the same time, between 2 each basically, at the same time. Thinking they're going to be fantastic, and they weren't fantastic. They were good. They were good for about a week, and that ish. Basically, the first 80 head that come in them and everything else, it was all gravy. They were okay. If you come from a V3, this is a lot looser draw, so you're getting a lot area pull. So you have to pull a bit harder, which is a bit of a learning curve when it comes to vaping. But it is one of them things. The V3s have a tighter draw than most Cryomisers and cartomizers and rebuildable tanks that I've tried, so that is just a V3 thing and not a Kanger thing. But this is where, should we say, the problems start.
Right. This thing. When you actually take this top shaft out, which you can do, when you
show it. I'll show it. Basically, these are. Let's move a bit closer. You can take these apart. Basically, what you've got is a silicon cap there. You can see me taking that off. That sits on top of your wicks to stop any excess liquid coming in. You then have that shaft pulls out, simply done, and in there you've got your wick and your coil. Okay, and there's your wicks and coils.
But there's actually
there is basically, you've got 2 strands of wick here, 2 1mm strands of wick that sit. Sorry, you can't even see that. There, that sit on top of those coils. Now, from what I've read on forums and stuff, that's what's known as a hippie wick or a juice wick. And what it effectively does is, when you then put this back together, okay, you put your prong back in like that. Okay, you then put your silicon cap back on like so. That then sits down and it sits on top of the wicks just there. And as you can see, now I've taken the hippie wick out, there's quite a substantial hole. It's wicking issue. It's not even a wicking issue, because I don't think it ever touches the wick.
It just floods.
It just floods. The problem with the Kanger, okay, is that you've got your mouthpiece directly connected to that central tube, which is directly connected to another tube that's on the atomizer, like that, and it effectively creates a big airway through. And obviously in there you've got 2 holes where the liquid can filter in, and if you've got anything, if you know anything about plumbing, basically,
or gravity,
or gravity, if you've not got some sort of vacuum, it is very easy for liquid to just go and sort them through there.
I wouldn't say it's that bad, but it does.
And well, we'll demonstrate that in a second, to be honest with you. That's problem 1. Problem 2 is that the hippie wicks aren't good enough, so we actually replaced them today. We had these about a month ago, and they started to go wrong on us, so wrong that we got them replaced with V3s. We described our issues to libertyflights.co.uk. They were really, really helpful. The woman that I spoke to, I think it was Mel, she basically said, what we'll do is we'll send you out some new ones. Bear in mind that these were used, a few of the 80 heads were used. We bought, I think it was 6 80 heads at one time and 4 Kangers. And she said, what I'll do is I'll send you out vision replaceables with 680 heads to replace it, and they didn't charge us the additional cost, any postage or anything like that. They just sent it out to us, and we sent it out. Well, they asked us to send it back. Basically, they are much better, the visions. The Kangers, they just weren't performing well, and when it first started happening, I think
off topic. We actually done the hippie wicking system ourselves.
Oh,
Proton tried three.
I tried basically. You've got.
He added actually another 1 mil of hippie wick into
four,
his.
Yeah, you've got 4 wicks in
and
their
I tried
standard.
4 in mine.
Yeah, 4 wicks in their standard, 2 in each. Sorry, 4 through there, and then you've got 2 sat on top. We removed those 2. I stuck 3 on, thinking it's just a little bit more. You stuck 4 on. Now, there was no wicking issues. There was liquid getting through there to the coils. It was all
too much.
It was, but the liquid was still leaking through. Another issue with the Kanger is you probably might be. Oh, you can just make it out. There you go. Down there, you can see the top of that central tube. I watched a video on YouTube the other day, and they said another problem is that it can leak out the mouthpiece, and that is because your central tube is too cylindrical. At the bottom, it's kind of flared like a trumpet. At the top, it isn't, and maybe if that was flared, that would sort of seal a bit more around the mouthpiece, because the mouthpiece is not replaceable. It is a solid piece. You can't really do much to it in terms of customising. And basically, the guy I watched put a screwdriver in, give it a little ring round, and he said that kind of solved an issue. This is part of my sort of grudge against this thing and some other devices. I don't want to buy this, wait for delivery, get it delivered, start to use it, think everything's all good, and then it cocks up on me, and then I'll just sit there and I'll get my toolbox out, and I'll get my silica wick out, and then I'll get my pliers, and I'll get me solutions to clean everything, and I'll re-wick a coil, which on this is a bit of a bitch. It's no different to the Nova or the V3, but you've got to work in that well, and you're going to need 2 pairs of long nose pliers. And I'll get all that out, and I'll sit there, and I'll waste my precious time that I could be doing stuff like making YouTube videos with, or I could be spending time with my son, or I could be at work. Instead of doing that, I will sit there and play around with rebuilding for an hour or 2. Bearing in mind, if I'm doing this, I haven't got a clue what I'm doing. That's not me, that's just in general. You don't know what the problem is with these unless you really research and play around. And I don't doubt for a second that the hippie wicks at the top and the flaring of the top piece are okay. And in fact, we both did that today. Both sat there and we hippie wicked and we flared. And we thought, well, do you know what? If it's that little bit, small price to pay, then I'll do it. Because if these perform, they're described as one of the best clearomisers.
This one's got 3 hippie wicks.
This is 3 hippie wicks, this is 4. They wick fine when you vape them.
Problem with this one is it still leaks. That's a 3.
They both.
Problem with this one, which is the 4, you don't get any liquid in the thing. It's too tight.
Yeah. I mean, you're in a midway. Sorry, I do want to point out as well. Another thing that's pointed out in the video with the Kangers is that basically your silicone prong, if you push it right down, apparently sometimes it can be too far down. Best thing to do is to have it like that. Okay, so the silicone is at the top. Then if you've got where's it Kanger gone?
Oh, it's in your hand, probably.
No, that's the wrong one. Then basically when you put it into the Kanger, you insert it into the tube, and that will push the silicone to the point where it needs it. Which is it's a very minor bit of fettling. I don't mind doing that. Now this is a Kanger that has had the top flared, that has got 3 hippie wicks. It's wicking fine if you can get it to vape. It's also had that silicone thing where the silicone's allowed to meet where it wants to, and it's been securely tightened. This is a dry piece of tissue. This is a Kanger, and this is my mouth. And already, I don't know if you'll be able to make that out properly in the video. You can't really see it. On here, there's a good few drops of juice already. This is with me blowing for it slightly. I do want to point out that if I leave this on a desk, it does start to vent liquid. There's some over there where I balanced it before. It's not...
It's like a puddle.
Okay, I'll come a bit closer just to make sure you can hear this. But this is what happens when I draw on this. Okay, now, liquid isn't great to drink. You might as well be drinking it. They should just not call this a T3, sorry, or the MT3 or the T2, or whatever one they've decided to call it. They should call this the Tanger. The Tanger?
Tanger?
The Tanger. That's what the Kanger straw is what they should call this. Okay, it's a Kanger fruit shoot available in any flavour you choose, as long as you don't mind being poisoned. It's
all you got to do is fill that up with like Coca-Cola or something, and it's a little drink as you go along.
Yeah, it really is that bad. Now I don't doubt that there are people.
This one isn't leaking with the 4 hippie wicks, but I will show you how much this is vaping because it's rubbish. Now it's going to vape really well, and it's just going to make me look like such a fool.
Probably, but
that's it.
To be honest with you, you get more vape off of, like, I don't know, a Sky Sig. I mean, didn't look too bad, but to be honest with you, in terms of flavour, it ain't super duper. In terms of production, it's very far from
This is
super
spearmint in
duper.
here, and it's very strong in our. We've tried it in the
V3.
Vision V3, and in this, I can barely taste the spearmint because it actually tastes a lot like toothpaste spearmint we made, which might not be appealing to a lot of people, but I like the taste of spearmint. So, but rubbish.
Yeah, it's not my recommendation, especially since factoring the cost. I think these were £6 for Liberty flights. I do want to point out at this point as well, this isn't me slagging the website off. Liberty flights have been more than helpful with every and anything that we've had to go wrong or to go right in that fact, and very helpful when it comes to terms sort of we don't know what we're talking about, we ask a question, and they are very helpful. The VV Nova that I bought for Liberty flights didn't seem to be as good a quality as the ones from Vaporscape and Totally Wicked. The Vision, not the Vision replaceable, or the V3s seem to be slightly superior quality. Now, if this Kanger is similar to the Nova, where it just isn't quite as good quality from Liberty, then I don't know, maybe there's some quality control issues there. And that may be the case. If you bought a Kanger from somewhere else and you think it's absolutely fantastic, you've had no issues, you've changed out your head, you've been using it for a while and you think it's brilliant, leave some comments. Please do. Because I'd like to hear people saying that I have had no issues. And I'd love to have one that worked really well, especially the MT3s. They look, honestly, they look the dog's whatsits. But...
And he looks at them a lot.
But the ones that we've got just aren't up to scratch. They're just not, and I think that is really, really, really poor that it's had this impact. And to be honest with you, I think a lot of the reason these have sold so well is because of good reviews. I mean, I've watched a few good reviews from a few big YouTubers who talk about vaping predominantly, if not solely. And I mean, one comment off mine is, if you sort of, one of the blokes said, if you like clearomisers, then this could be the king. I mean, you watched that video with me, didn't you? Basado really rated it, and I don't doubt those guys had good Kangers. I don't doubt that they enjoyed them. I just wish I could have. It really, really wasn't.
What was expected?
It wasn't a pleasant experience, and obviously, if you haven't ordered from one of these websites yet, you're kind of not gonna. It's like waiting for a Christmas present. It is for me anyway. It is, because you order it and you kind of think, I wonder what this is going to bring.
Christmas every day for him, because every day is something coming.
Maybe, but that is irrelevant. But it is like waiting for a Christmas present. So I mean, if you're like me, you'll have a look, you'll reviews, videos, forums, read a little bit about it. I try and educate myself as much as possible about what I'm buying before I buy it, because obviously it's my hard-earned money. I don't want to throw it down the drain. If I wanted to do that, I would just throw it down the drain and wait 2 days for delivery of it. But you do have expectations, and these were so far below those expectations after a couple of days. It was just ridiculous. And these Kangers are one of the reasons now why I so thoroughly research everything I buy, because I don't want to end up with an experience like the Kangers again. I know you're the same. It is...
At the moment, unless someone wows me with an awesome review of these working really well now, I will not be buying any kind of Kanger product again.
I mean, that's another issue. Obviously, Joytech, Kanger, they all make their own stuff, and I mean, we was looking at Kanger batteries the other day, went with for his sister, and they're not badly priced, 15 quid for a 1,100 mile passer, I believe.
But why risks on a company that I didn't have a good experience when I know the Joytechs work beautifully? That
is a problem for them. I won't recommend anything to do with Kanger. I mean, obviously the Kanger T3s I really don't recommend. I don't doubt the batteries are fine, and I was trying to get him to take a punt on it. He just was not going to. Alright, so I mean, I probably would buy a battery from Kanger or whatever, because let's face it, worst case you send it back. But Paul, Worm, and several other people like him, no doubt, are just going to be completely put off one company because of their shoddy work. And when you're going up against, I know that this is new technology, and this is the only company to kind of take this approach, and that isn't a bad thing, because you take an approach, if it works well, then everything else is going to be out the water. But it's not working.
Flops bad.
Yeah, it's not working, and despite the good reviews about them that are out there, based on
we're bitching about this too much now.
Ones,
right, let's get into a review. Looks and overall
appearance.
appearance.
He's a fucking pushy little bitch.
Looks and appearance. It doesn't look bad. I think it looks alright. I mean, to be honest, I think it looks a little bit better than the V3s. So I'm going to say, looks wise, it's an 8. If you get it in the metal body, like Mr. Proton says, it's probably a 10 on looks, because it does look very close to, that's my Nova tank, It looks very much like that, but a little bit slimmer and elongated.
Yeah, and it holds about the same liquid
Elongated,
as
word of the day.
well. Word of the day. My opinion on looks, I'd say it's a 6. I don't mind it. I'm not overly fond of the look, and I think for the size, yeah, it holds more liquid than the V3, but it is also quite a lot wider than the V3. Obviously not at the bottom because it's ego threaded. That's the size that it is. But the tank all the way up is wider, and it's noticeably wider. So looks, they're not bad looking, and I'd say this one and in the blue it's 6 out of 10. If we're talking about the MT3, and if that's what you bought, because with my money, if I hadn't bought these, that's what I would have bought when they weren't out when we bought these, or that I knew of. If you bought the MT3, my opinion on that looks-wise, it's just the same with a metal sleeve. My opinion on that is 10 out of 10. It's probably one of the nicest looking things I've seen for this kind of setup. I think it's brilliant looking, and especially since now they sell them with the Kanger batteries, they all match. It's the same colour all the way down. It really is bringing a bit of sort of customizability to this. You kind of got it in the colour you like, your preference. The battery's the same, it all matches, and it does look sleek. And then when you're out and about, people don't question it as much. When I'm walking around with that, people think I'm on crack, and I don't really care, to be honest with you. They can think what they like, but some people do worry about that. And if you're one of those people, these Kangers look brilliant. But
usability. For the first couple of days we used them, they worked, and they did.
Even still, they're not hard to use. They just don't work.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they are easy. They're 2 parts. How much simpler can you get? Unscrew, fill, replace, done job. Usability, they are a 9. They just don't work.
Well, usability, if you've got one at working, in my opinion, usability, like I say, is 2 parts: at your head and body. That's the lot. That is the lot. In terms of use, filling them up, there's a bit more space down there than there is with a V3, so it's easier to fill. You've got clear markings. I do want to point out another good thing about this, actually. You've got your markings there. When you flip it, you've got the markings there as well. So it's not just when it's full it'll tell you how much is in there, and they're relevant markings as well. They are true. But when it's upside down, you can also tell how much it is when you're filling it up. And I think that is a nice feature. It's something that the MT3s haven't got. Yeah. So it's one of them ones. But I would still have the metal body. I still have the MT3 over this. But what are we on? Usability. Yeah, it's easy to use, but it doesn't work.
So, usability is a 9. It just doesn't work.
It's easy to drive a car that won't move. Do you know? It's very true.
Maintenance. Obviously, again, 2 parts. As long as you ain't got to rebuild the whole bloody thing because it ain't working, maintenance is easy. You take out one part, which throws away, or you clean. This, it's there. It's got the liquid in. You change it over, done job. Maintenance is, again, a 9. It's very easy.
My opinion, I'm going to base my maintenance opinion based on what we've had and not what could be. And my maintenance opinion, even if you follow the steps to make it work, and they were to work, which they didn't on ours. Even if you make it trumpeted at the top and you hippie wick every atty you stick in it and you let the silicone, all that into account, if that makes it work, that makes the maintenance for me, in terms of easy being 10, I'd say it makes it a 4 because it's a lot of fettling, it's a lot of pissing about, and it's unnecessary.
If you get one where you got to fuck around. A lot of people have had ones where they just work, and if they do,
brilliant.
They're
brilliant. Then I don't doubt if these work that they're a fantastic device. Just wish I could tell you based on an experience and not what I hear. So use a bit of maintenance for me, sorry. I'd say it's a 4 or 5 out of 10. And that's if you can get it working.
We've got.
And that's if you can get it working.
That's not on everybody's personal preference. I mean, vapour from it when it was working, it was alright. It was a looser draw, which it's alright, but you've kind of got to do a slower, longer draw to get the good vapour production from it. Flavour on it, it wasn't as strong as the Visions or the Novas. It wasn't. It just wasn't. The airhead is slower down, so by the time the vapour gets to your throat and in your mouth and in your lungs, it's cooler, and the flavour just isn't still there. It's not lingering in the vapour no more. So the vapour production, 6. That's been very, very generous with that one. And flavour, again, it's a 6, and that's still being generous. And that's when it's working really well.
Vapour off these, I didn't think it was bad. It's not as good as the V3s. It's not, the draw is looser, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's down to what you like. I don't think the Vapour was bad. I'd say 7 out of 10 for Vapour, but you've got to bear in mind that the Visions are the same price, or the irreplaceable, sorry, the V3s are the same price, and they're a 9. Flavour, it was again, not bad. Like Worm said, it is a cooler vape. Not much cooler. I mean, you only got this
It's
much
noticeable.
difference, but it is noticeable if you've used the V3s. Flavour, I'd say probably a 6. It did seem to mute things slightly for me, and slightly too much at times compared to you get a punch of nice flavour from the V3. Stick it in there, not quite so good. So yeah, that'd be a 6 on flavour for me.
Overall rating, I can't be generous. I mean, I know, like I said, like the usability and all that is really, really high, but overall rating on the ones we got, 3. Being generous, 3. If it was any more crap, and like we are probably still going to play around with these, trying to get these to work every now and then when we get bored. Yeah, we will, because we like to fap around.
Will.
Yeah.
I won't. I'd rather play my Arga.
It's close to being going in the bin. It's a 3, generously.
For me, overall rating, given my experience reading, and what could potentially be, I do want to point out as well that this was a full tank and it hasn't actually been vaped. That's how much these leak. That demonstrates to you how much these leak. But my overall rating for this, unless we're doing negative numbers, is a 0. There is nothing about this that I want in my life. Honestly, the only thing about this I want in my life is the bin. It's not. If it worked, and if it worked, if I had an MT3 that worked spot on, I could probably give that a 9 out of 10 all day long without even blinking. But it's shite. It really is. I can't describe how much I loathe this fucking thing. It is atrocious. And honestly, spend your money on a V3 or a Nova or
go down the pub and have a
McDonald's or something. Just eat instead of smoking if this is your choice. Don't do it. Just don't do it, please. I beg of you. I've been Mr. Proton. This is the Worm.